In the quiet town of Evergreen Hollow, nestled in the rolling hills of upstate New York, winter had wrapped its icy fingers around everything. Snow fell relentlessly that December, blanketing the streets in a pristine white hush that muffled the world's worries. For folks like Harold Jenkins, a retired police officer in his late 60s, these snowy days brought back memories of simpler times, patrolling the frosted beats, helping neighbors dig out from drifts, and coming home to a warm hearth. But this winter, the snow seemed heavier, carrying with it a story that would remind everyone in town about the quiet miracles that love can summon. Harold's son, little Tommy, though at 10 years old, he insisted on being called Tom, had always been the kind of boy who noticed the overlooked. With his freckled face and wide blue eyes, he'd spend his afternoons after school, wandering the snow-dusted paths, collecting stray mittens or feeding birds from his gloved hands. Harold, who had hung up his badge, after 30 years on the force, often watched Tom from the window of their modest Victorian home, its roof sagging under the weight of fresh powder. "That boy's got a heart bigger than this blizzard," Harold would mutter to his wife, Eleanor, as she knitted by the fire. It started on a particularly blustery Saturday, when the wind howled like a lonely wolf, and snowflakes danced wildly against the panes. Tom had been saving his allowance for months, every nickel from chores, every quarter from birthday cards, dreaming of a new bicycle to ride come spring. But fate, or perhaps something divine, had other plans. The local animal shelter, a weathered barn on the outskirts of town, was holding an adoption event before the holidays. "Last chance for these poor souls," the flyer read, tacked to the community board at the diner where Harold grabbed his morning coffee. Tom begged his father to take him. "Please, Dad, just to look." Harold, bundled in his old wool coat, with the police patch still sewn on the sleeve, relented. The drive was slow, tires crunching over packed snow, the heater blasting warm air that fogged the windows. When they arrived, the shelter was a cacophony of barks and meows, volunteers in scarves hustling with leashes and bowls. Amid the lively pups tumbling in playpens, one dog caught Tom's eye, a mangy German shepherd mix, huddled in the corner of a wire kennel, his coat matted, and one leg twisted at an odd angle. A sign on the gate read, "Buddy, injured stray, needs special care, adoption fee 50, no refunds." The volunteer, a kindly woman named Mrs. Hargrove, with silver hair peeking from her knit cap, sighed when Tom approached. "Poor thing was hit by a car last month. Vet fixed him up best he could, but he's skittish now. Limp's bad, won't eat much. Folks call him broken. We've had him for weeks, no takers." She patted the boy's shoulder. "Maybe pick a healthier one, dear. This blizzard's no time for a project." But Tom knelt in the snow-damp hay, pressing his small hand against the wire. Buddy lifted his head, amber eyes meeting the boy's, with a flicker of something. Resignation, perhaps. Or a plea. "He's not broken," Tom whispered. "He's just waiting." Without hesitation, he emptied his piggy bank savings into Mrs. Hargrove's palm. Exactly $50 in coins and crumpled bills. Harold watched, his throat tight, as Tom signed the papers with a determined scrawl. "Son, you sure that's all your bike money?" Tom nodded, eyes shining. "Bikes can wait, Dad. Miracles can't." They brought Buddy home that afternoon, the dog limping awkwardly through the snow to the car, his breath forming clouds in the frigid air. Eleanor met them at the door, her apron dusted with flour from baking gingerbread. "Oh, heavens," she murmured, helping wrap the shivering animal in an old blanket by the fire. The house smelled of pine, from the Christmas tree in the corner, its lights twinkling against the gathering dusk outside. Buddy curled up warily, his injured leg extended, as if afraid to trust this new warmth. That first night, as snow piled high against the windows, Tom sat vigil by Buddy's side. He read stories aloud, from his favorite book of fables, his voice soft over the crackle of logs. Harold joined them, sharing tales from his policing days, how he'd once rescued a lost child in a storm, guided by what he called a nudge from above. Eleanor brought warm milk for the boy, and a bowl of softened kibble for the dog. Slowly, Buddy's ears perked, and he lapped at the food, his tail giving a tentative thump. It was a small victory, but in the glow of the hearth, it felt like the start of something sacred. As the days turned into weeks, the snow deepened, transforming Evergreen Hollow into a winter wonderland or a frozen trap, depending on the day. Tom dedicated himself to Buddy's recovery with the fervor only a child could muster. He'd wake before dawn, when the world was still a palette of grays and whites, to help the dog outside. The backyard was a sea of drifts, and Tom would shovel paths, his cheeks rosy from the cold,
while Buddy hobbled along,
gaining strength with each step. "You're getting better, boy," Tom would encourage, tossing snowballs gently for the dog to sniff. Harold, ever the practical man, took Buddy to the vet on a clear morning, the road slick with ice. Dr. Ellis, a gruff old-timer with a practice in town, examined the leg. "Fracture's healing, but he'll always limp," and that fear in his eyes. Trauma like that doesn't fade easy. Back home, Harold built a ramp from scrap wood, covered in carpet to ease Buddy's climb to the porch. Eleanor sewed a padded bed from old quilts, placing it near the radiator. The family's routine shifted around the dog. Meals included scraps for him. Evenings featured walks in the crisp air, where streetlights cast long shadows on the snow. But challenges arose, as they do in any tale worth telling. Buddy's past haunted him. Loud noises, like the crack of a branch under snow, sent him cowering under the table, whimpering. One night, a fierce nor'easter rattled the windows, wind screaming through the eaves. Buddy paced anxiously, his nails clicking on the hardwood, until Tom coaxed him into his room. "It's okay," the boy soothed, stroking the dog's fur. As thunderous gusts shook the house, Harold checked the shutters, remembering storms from his youth, when faith was all that kept fear at bay. Word spread through town about the broken dog and the boy who'd given everything for him. At the local church, where the Jenkins family attended Sunday services, Pastor Reed mentioned it in his sermon. "In this season of Advent, amid the snow that covers our floors, remember compassion thaws the hardest hearts." Neighbors dropped by with treats, bones wrapped in festive paper, a collar with jingle bells. Even old Mr. Whitaker, the grumpy widower next door, softened, sharing stories of his own lost hound from decades ago. Yet doubts crept in. Tom's friends teased him at school, where recess meant snowball fights in the playground drifts. "You wasted your money on a lame mutt," one jeered. Tom shrugged it off. But at home, he confided in his father. "What if he never gets better, Dad?" Harold, sitting by the fire with a mug of cocoa, pulled the boy close. "Son, miracles aren't about perfection. They're about persistence. Like when I was on the force, chased a lead through a blizzard once. Found a missing girl because I didn't give up. Faith works that way." As Christmas approached, the snowfalls grew heavier, blanketing rooftops and muffling the carolers' songs. Buddy's limp lessened. His coat gleamed from regular brushing, and his eyes held a spark of trust. He followed Tom everywhere, a loyal shadow in the white landscape. One afternoon, while building a snowman in the front yard, complete with a carrot nose and Harold's old hat, Buddy barked playfully for the first time, chasing a rolling snowball. Eleanor watched from the window, tears in her eyes. "That boy's kindness is healing more than the dog," she whispered. But the true test came on Christmas Eve. The town was alive with lights, strung across Main Street, reflecting off the icy sidewalks. The Jenkins family bundled up for midnight mass, leaving Buddy by the fire with a chew toy. "We'll be back soon, boy," Tom promised, patting his head. The service was beautiful, hymns echoing in the candlelit church. Pastor Reed speaking of hope born in a stable. As they drove home through swirling flurries, Harold's police radio, a habit he'd never broken, crackled to life. Static-filled voices reported a break-in at the pharmacy downtown. "Suspect fled on foot. Armed, possibly dangerous." Harold's instincts kicked in. "Stay in the car," he told Eleanor and Tom. Pulling over near the scene, snow whipped around. As he approached the responding officers, his old badge flashing in the headlights. "What's the situation?" The young cop, Officer Ramirez, briefed him. A desperate man, down on his luck, had smashed a window for painkillers. He'd vanished into the woods behind the building, where trails led to the frozen river. Back at home, Buddy had grown restless. The wind howled, carrying distant sirens that stirred his buried memories. He nosed at the door, whining, until it swung open in a gust. Perhaps not latched properly. Instinct took over. He bolted into the night, limping through the deep snow toward the woods, as if drawn by an unseen force. Meanwhile, Harold joined the search. Flashlight beams cutting through the blizzard. He can't have gone far in this weather, Ramirez said, but the tracks were vanishing fast. Tom, disobeying orders, slipped from the car and followed his father. "Dad, what if—" His words cut short, as a bark echoed from the trees. There, emerging from the drifts, was Buddy, his fur caked in snow, leading a shivering figure. The suspect collapsed against a tree, his leg twisted from a fall. The man, later identified as Jack Harlan, a veteran fallen on hard times, looked up with defeated eyes. "Dog found me, wouldn't leave, kept nudging me back this way." Buddy stood guard, tail low but steady, as Harold cuffed Jack gently. "You're safe now," Harold said. Radioing for an ambulance, in the chaos, Buddy limped to Tom, who knelt in the snow, hugging him fiercely. "You're a hero, boy." The climax unfolded in those frozen woods, where past and present collided. Jack's story poured out in the ambulance. Lost his job, addicted to pills after an injury, no family left. But Buddy's insistence had saved him from freezing to death. As medics treated Jack's frostbite, he whispered, "That dog, he's like an angel, pulled me from the edge." Back home, as dawn broke on Christmas morning, the snow finally easing to gentle flakes, the family gathered around the tree. Buddy, exhausted but proud, lay at Tom's feet, his head on the boy's lap. Harold shared the news. Jack would get help. Not just jail time, rehab counseling, a second chance. "Because of you, son," Harold said, ruffling Tom's hair. "And this broken dog." Eleanor served hot cider, the aroma mingling with pine. "Miracles come quietly," she mused, echoing the pastor's words. Tom opened his gifts, a new sled, books. But the real treasure was Buddy, who had transformed from a trembling stray to a family savior. The town buzzed with the tale. The police officer's son and his miracle dog, turning a night of crime into one of redemption. In the weeks that followed, spring whispered promises. As snow melted into rivulets, Buddy's limp faded to a slight hitch, and he romped freely in the thawing yard. Tom, with funds from neighbors' donations, finally got his bike, but he preferred walks with his faithful companion. Harold volunteered at the shelter, inspired to help more broken souls. Jack in recovery sent a letter. "Your boy's kindness saved me, God bless." And so, in Evergreen Hollow, amid the lingering chill of winter's end, the story lingered like a warm ember. It reminded everyone, especially those who'd seen many seasons, that faith, loyalty, and small acts of love could summon miracles, turning pain into purpose and proving that no one is ever truly broken.